Hello. Good evening. I wanted to make a video. This is video 780, and just to record the moment, I suppose. But it was a hell of a day. It's a hell of a day today, and I'm battered, but I'm not beaten. This morning I called Humana Pharmacy to ask them why my estrogen had been canceled, and had a real nice customer service lady who told me what the previous 4 customer service people told me, that I wasn't eligible to get it on my health plan, and that was why. And I thanked her, and then I said to her, I said, well, I've actually done this before. This is the 4th time. Today's the 5th time I've called. And usually what happens is the person I speak with, they talk to the next tier person up, and then they talk to a prior authorization specialist, and then they come back and tell me that I need to fill out another prior authorization form. So I said, if you don't mind, could you start that process? And she said, yeah. And sure enough, that's kind of how it played out. And so, about 20 minutes later, she said, we got back to the same point that I've been stuck in for 3 weeks. And they say, well, if you can just get your provider to call this number or send in a fax explaining that you need to be on Del estrogen, we'll process it. And I said to her, well, I don't think that's going to work out, because you're the 5th person that has told me to do that. And I provided her with the dates and the people kind of backed up my claim. I said, so I'm not sure what we do from here, but I don't want to repeat this process again. I said, so if we could elevate this to the next tier, your supervisor or the shift lead or whatever. I said, because this isn't going to fix the problem. And she was confused at first. She didn't understand. I guess no one had ever challenged her before. And I had to explain to her that, again, this was time number 5 I've done this. And anyway, about an hour later, after waiting for 2 or 3 more hoops to go through, I found myself getting very agitated, and I did not yell. I didn't, I was very tactful with the person I was speaking with, and she had told me that really there was nothing she could do, that they needed X, Y, and Z, and I reiterated to her, but this is where I've been 4 times previous, and X, Y, Z doesn't work. And we kind of locked heads a little bit, and I said, well, okay. I said, if you're not going to help me out, then I need your supervisor's name, and I want their telephone number and email address, and I'm going to call them and email them. I said, and then I'm going to call their supervisor and boss. I said, because this is crazy. And we kind of went toe and toe again, and she got a little indignant with me, and that's okay. Again, she's not used to getting pushback, and short of it was, that they say you can't fight City Hall. And we went toe and toe a couple times, and once I realized that there was nothing they could do, or they were willing to do, maybe, I took the information, the information, and reached out to my provider and explained that I'm so sorry, but here's what's going on. And I kind of mentally made a point to, do more due diligence, it's whatever needed to be done. And then I got up and left my station, logged out, took my break, and I found an empty office on our floor, and I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. So frustrated, It's that feeling that I did something wrong. I didn't fill out paperwork, or all of it was put on me that I did something wrong, and it's just not the case. It's just the process. And apparently, from their side of things, that they had documentation that they had reached out to the doctor's office, and they told me dates and times and who they spoke with in the doctor's office, and they were not getting the information. Again, it didn't really sound too right for me, but I made a note. I'm like, okay, at this point, I need to call the doctor's office, and don't, it sounds kind of silly now why I didn't do it from the beginning, but I to be honest, I didn't want to hassle the doctor's office, But anyway, so had a good cry and went back, and the doctor kind of had an idea, once he read my message back to him, and he says, I'm so sorry. He says, I'm more than happy to do whatever I need to do, continue to do what they want me to do. He said, but in the meantime, would you consider, getting a good RX coupon and just paying out of pocket for a vial, And he said, just in the meantime, because that way you're starting your estrogen again, And I thought it was a pretty good idea. I thought it was, smart of him to think that way. And I said, okay, thank you, And as it turns out, he's been submitting scripts simultaneously to Humana Pharmacy and Walgreens. And so, within 30 minutes, I was able to, go to Walgreens, call, and speak to the pharmacist. And the first pharmacy didn't have the Delestrin. It wasn't in stock. You know how that goes. And I found a Walgreens that had it. I was like, okay, well, I have a coupon, da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, okay, well, it'll take 3 days to fill it. And I was like, okay, I can accept that. So went about my day kind of with the happiness that there was progress, and that even if, 3 days from now, I will have a good bottle, and a bottle of non-expired Delestin, hopefully, knock on wood. And we'll just have to wait and see. Before I left work for the night, I got a phone call from the woman that her and I were yelling at each other. And she wanted to let me know that she didn't forget about me. She's been trying to call the doctor's office, and they're not returning her phone calls. And so kind of leads a little more credence to kind of what's going on. In my job, I have to periodically call a provider or a member and ask a question, or, get their mailing address so I can send them a check. And yeah, we're legally, we only have to call 3 times on 2 different days. And so, yeah, I mean, if you have countless people you have to call, and they don't call you back, I mean, it's frustrating, but I understand where they're coming from. And so anyway, turns out that the doctor's office, she did some more research, and they last week they sent a prior authorization request to the wrong email address. And I guess their internal tracking system picked it up and archived it. And so she pulled it up and she said, now, this information went to the wrong place, but it's the information I'm looking for. So, seeing as how I know it came from the doctor's office and I have documentation now, I can start to process it. And so that was really good news. But I'm not holding my breath. But just a lot of frustration. So I'm schlepped my way home, and just Harry here was like, I want to be held, and I was like, I'd love to hold you. There he goes. Look at that handsome boy. So I wanted to share a little bit, and there's a story in the Bible about a woman. She's making her case to a judge, and every morning she goes and knocks on his door, because she wants justice. And I think he says something to the effect of he would normally refuse to even see her, but he knows that all she's going to do is keep knocking on his door every day. So just for his own peace of mind, he's going to take care of her. And I think that's somewhat the moral to the story here is, as sucky as it is just persistence. Not to be mean, not to be vindictive, not to be impolite, not to be aggressive, but to be, I guess, vigilant. Take notes, document. Who did you talk to? What day is it? What time is it? What did they say? Who's their supervisor? Things that I didn't do initially because I had never, I was on the Del estrogen for three years and didn't have a problem, like clockwork. Would you like to refill your prescription? Yes. And magically 5 vials of Del estrogen would show up. So, kind of a postscript. So, my hope is, it's Monday? Possibly by Thursday, the end of the week, I may actually have a live bottle of estrogen, which would be good. But I'm definitely drained. I'm definitely, like I said, battered, but not broken. And that's my story. But I had a thought today that I guess is going to be kind of my question to you. Assuming, again, you're transitioning, or you transitioned. And kind of the question is, how do you envision yourself and your old self? In my travels, I've met some trans women and trans men, but mostly trans women, who won't, I'm not going to say identify because that's not it. They won't take ownership of who they were before they transitioned. Like, they transitioned and it's like they wadded up a piece of paper that was their old self and they just threw it away. And it's like that person never existed. They'll deny it, and that's okay. I'm not trying to say one thing is better or worse than the other. I'm just curious how you do it, how you think about yourself and your old self. And another friend of mine kind of says that, they never, it's like they never lived their life before, so they don't acknowledge it. And today I was kind of reminded that, I feel like I've been the same person uh, throughout my transition, and I guess I'm still off the estrogen. So my brain is still kind of running non female mode here, but I kind of felt like there was I'm not sure if it was a meme. Someone had written like a poem to their former self, and it was somewhat similar to the thing you see every so often with Jesus. I think it's called Footprints in the Sand. And the person, they look back, and in the footprints, there's their footprints, and then there's Jesus's footprints. And the person asks, why is there only one set of footprints? And Jesus says, that's when I carried you. That's when I carried you. And I feel that way sometimes of who I am. Robin. That I've been like Jesus. I've got the Messiah complex now. But, it's like that I have within me this other person, Karen, and there were parts of my life that I carried her. I was almost like the protector. And she's still somewhat asleep within me. I can remember a period of time, maybe 2 years after going full time. I was heading into my surgery. So maybe, well, it would have been a year or two after going full time, right? Don't you gotta do a year of real life? The real life test. I lost a bunch of weight and all that, but, that was probably when the person that I would identify as Karen within me, that's when she was really alive. Had the surgery. And after I had this GCS, that's when I had a bad case of post-op depression. And I lost my job. There were other things that happened at the time. I lost my house. That's when we moved in here. Lost my job, all that. And, it was like, Karen went back to sleep and I had to take over. And, so for me, I kind of envisioned myself somewhat as like the protector. Sort of almost gender neutral, definitely asexual, but gender neutral, just like a caregiver, a bodyguard of sorts. And, you know, definitely being off the estrogen. And my therapist made mention of that. She said, it's kind of sad in a way that after your surgery, you didn't really have the opportunity to live and enjoy what you had accomplished, which I guess is having sex. I don't know. But, I went and I lost my job, lost my job, and everything went to shit. And I've not quite recovered from that. Had the blood clots and got off estrogen and everything. And so, my hope somewhat is that, once I get back on estrogen and my body kind of runs the other set of blueprints and whatnot, that Karen might come back out again. And but in the meantime, I've kind of been the protector, the caregiver. Like I said, I can't think of a good word, but kind of the omniscient, omnipresent protection persona that's just kind of there to make things work, negotiate and protect. And I guess my hope is that get back on the estrogen and the two people will kind of swap places. The guardian will go back inside, and Karen will come out. I went by Karen for a while leading up to my surgery, as far as like at work and everything. I mean, I met when I went back to I worked from home for a number of years, and then I went back to work before I lost my job, and for a good 2 years, I think. And when I went back as Karen. I introduced myself, my little name badge. You know. All of that. And so, it was kind of when that changed, and it didn't feel right, it didn't feel applicable anymore. And so my hope is that, if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. But I'm just kind of curious, how you view yourself, Anyway, all right. Well, I know I'm a bundle of joy here, but I did kind of want to share what was going on. And like I said, my hope is, you're at the point now where you're, like I said, I'm broken, but I'm not beaten. It's kind of like it's the end of the day, and the bugle's playing in the background, and taps will be playing shortly, and this is a time to rest, and tomorrow will be another day in the trenches, fighting. But anyway, I had one other thought, if you'll pardon me. People talked a lot about Facebook last week. Sometimes people, when you see people have with a photo album, sorry, I'm not really getting this out, they only post the good things. You wouldn't have a photo album of the bad things. And so I think sometimes on Facebook, maybe when we see someone, or how we kind of portray ourselves, it's only the good stuff. It's only, this is my new car, or this is, we went out to blah, blah, blah state park, and, you see a bunch of people smiling and whatnot, and it it's kind of a false sense of reality. And I encountered that when I went to Jamaica. My scout troop went to Jamaica one summer, and we actually backpacked through Jamaica. What I call the backside of the island, away from the tourist traps. Okay, not Montego Bay, but the kids in Montego Bay, uh, they have this idea that America, because is land of rich and opportunity, but because they see people, tourists. What do tourists do? They come and spend money. So therefore, everyone in America must have money, right? And the people, when they come there to vacation, they're happy. So the people in America must always be happy. It's kind of a false narrative, and I wonder sometimes if that's kind of the way Facebook is. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm worthy. I don't feel like I'm worthy to be on Facebook, because my life isn't as wonderful as everyone else's. But that's what I'm saying is the truth is probably, everyone's lives are probably just as shitty. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But anyway, I'm going to sign off. I hope things are good in your neck of the woods, and I hope things work out for you and for me. Like I said, I'm just drained. It's been a hell of a day. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another opportunity. But yeah, if you want to post in the comments, I'd be curious to see how you feel about your old self. Maybe your current self. Are they two people? Are they the same person? It's not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here, but the poem that I talked about, that I kind of started to think about, Jesus' footprints in the sand. The person had written a poem kind of as a eulogy for their former self. And I think their dead name was like Dave. And it was something, in memory of Dave. And it was something to the effect of, thank you, Dave, for all the times you carried me. You protected me. You lied to protect me. You protected me from, and I guess it was just, they had a very, they were thankful for their old self, for helping them get them as far as they got, as far as they needed to. It's an interesting thought. But on that note, good night. Tomorrow's another day. Good luck, guys, gals, folks. Bye-bye.